Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Hot Meringue in the Abusive Relationships subreddit. The post is titled, "Months ago I emotionally cheated on my abuser, and it's taken me up until this point to admit to that. The whys have haunted me ever since. I don't defend it, I completely compromised my morals and cowardly chose the destructive option. I still hate myself for what I did, but he's recently been screaming at me, asking me how I could have done this without any guilt during that time. And I did feel guilt. I know I did, but I also know I did it because I'm trapped. For 10 years, I have lived with my boyfriend, and we had successfully created our financial empire that is our job online. Both coming from similarly abusive households who didn't believe in us, my early 20s were nothing but adventures and journeys with this man, and we proved to everyone we could be successful. I would and could never take those accomplishments away from him and what we built online. To friends and family, we made it, and I kept it looking that way, successful. But what friends and family don't know is how incredibly abusive he can be when he's angry. He screamed in my face, spitting on me, pulled my shirt collar, bucked at me, called me vile and despicable things. He's punched walls, slammed doors, thrown things and pillows at me, pushed me down to the floor, and forcefully grabbed my wrists. One night years ago, I was crying because we were yelling, and out of fear the police would be called, he grabbed me, threw me onto the bed harshly, covered my mouth, and screamed for me to shut the f*** up repeatedly. I still remember how I felt that night. He didn't sound like the person I had these adventures with. I know I wasn't perfect. I had wounds and pain and trauma. My early 20s were about being a mess, and I want to say we helped each other grow because we did, but nowadays he uses those years like he built me. I'm his success property, and every time this angry him showed up, I either repressed it, ignored it, or was very convinced I deserved it. That's what he told me recently. You've proven to me that aggression works on you. I'm gaslighted every moment I challenge his temper and abuse. And yet in every argument we have, I would eye his fist that would ball up the angrier he gets. One friend of mine I grew closer to online spiraled into an emotional affair, and he's proven to me since he caught me that the controlling will get worse and linger. Cheaters don't have rights. He humiliated me to friends, threatened to tell my family unless I gave him information, and didn't let me sleep. And for the first few months, I took his increased aggression because I felt I did deserve it. He's already threatened to destroy my life if I broke up with him. He thinks me breaking up implies I'm better than him. Sorry, I know this is long. I guess it's taken me up until recently to process how trapped I really am and start planning an escape. It genuinely sucks. He holds the idea that he gave me a second chance on a pedestal, but deep down, I know my answers. I just know he'd ruin me if he finds out. User Sauerkraut fan said, cheating isn't good, and in normal circumstances, I would be grossed out by hearing of this. Being personally affected makes me hate it even more. But I'm not at all judgmental. You cheating is such a fraction of pain compared to the mountain of pain he caused you. This to me is like survival cheating. I don't think it's cowardly. Some of us on this sub are literally that scared of the confrontation and can't even approach a breakup conversation without fear. This was a way to get out, in my opinion. Don't be hard on yourself. You are not a bad person. Update 1, you can read my post history. Through the helpful people on this sub, I've been doing as much research as I can mentally handle. I've told family members and close trusted friends, and I'm trying to get a hold of lawyers for legal advice. I have been reading books, articles, and watching videos regarding domestic violence and abusive relationships. I packed a bag of important paperwork and items secretly and gave it to a trusted family member. At the same time, I've been trying to privately mourn the relationship while doing everything I can to ensure he has no suspicion. The guilt is already resurfacing as my boyfriend continues to be his goofy, happy self, the person I fell for years ago. Funnily enough, just last week we had an argument. In my exhaustion, I tried defending myself. He made sure I knew that was a mistake because, mid-argument, he grabbed a pillow and violently slammed it repeatedly inches away from my body, screaming insults and hurtful words at me while doing it. I submitted to him at that point because I was terrified. When I asked him later if I deserved that, he said verbatim, "I'm getting to a point where I'm not going to care anymore about preventing myself from doing a bad thing when you do bad things. You think you don't deserve to be slapped? You're a terrible person who pushes people to their limits, and you can't cry or shake if something bad happens to you in response." That's wrong, right? I don't deserve this, right? It's escalating, right? I'm still trying to map out the plan. Thankfully, my family is making it clear they will support and help me, but the questions keep me up at night. Where will my pet and I live? How can I protect the business aspect without him threatening to post things online and run a smear campaign against me? How will we do this? What will happen to the things I leave behind and can't take? Would he destroy them? I'd still want to run our business together and negotiate a cut cordially, but he's made it incredibly difficult for that to be an option right now. He believes our business cannot run unless we're romantically together. I have no interest in cutting him out financially, but what else can I do when he's made it this terrifyingly difficult? He said he built me, that he made me, and that's not family, that's not love. It's meant to make me feel small and weak, and it has worked for too long. There are things I'm trying to find control over, things I'll have to relinquish control over, and stuff that could happen that he may try to do. I'm scared. I don't know what my future is going to look like. It's all unknown. I'm angry at myself for waiting this long to leave and angry at him for putting me in this position, all at the cost of my freedom and the love I know I deserve that's out there somewhere. It just sucks and I'm tired of it all. But I know if I stay and ignore my gut screaming at me, it's going to get bad for me the next time he's mad. He told me that himself, and I need to save myself, my pet, and my business before that happens. I just hate this. Update 2. 10 years living together with my abusive boyfriend. I kept it a secret from everyone, excused it, and was so damn convinced that I deserved it. I deserved to be shoved hard backward into the bathtub, screamed at with every horrible insult you can think of, and pulled up by my shirt collar so hard it knocked all the air out of me. I have desperately tried to give him my love, multiple chances, my time, and effort. I never wanted our perfect happily ever after story to end like this. I wish he could understand how much I fought for him in my mind for years. But every part of me is screaming loud that it's time to go. This is wrong, this isn't healthy, he's broken. And he warned me a few weeks ago he has every means to escalate the abuse. This feels like my one and only chance to escape this kingdom we made and never look back. I have the entire plan memorized. Tomorrow afternoon, 8 family members of mine are coming over alongside police standby to protect and escort me as I pack the final things I left ready to pack. Everything is on a list. I organized every spot and every hidden bag I'm going to take. I collected everything important. My family purchased all my pets' new necessities, and I made peace with what I'm leaving behind. I have so many uncertainties and dooming emotions. I feel scared, guilty, and anxious about what awaits me when I leave. But I also feel liberated, excited, and proud that I'm finally sticking up for myself. That me who would run terrified into the locked bathroom, sleep on the couch shaking because he kicked me out of our room, sob and beg for him to please stop being physically aggressive only for him to scoff back. She deserves this freedom. Will I regret this? Will I be happier? What is he going to do? What's going to happen? I am beyond terrified, exhausted but wide awake, very frustrated and defeated but so ready to live. Wish me luck. Update 3. From my last post, I wanted to update everyone here on my situation on day 1, but I wanted to wait a few more days before I confirmed that it's real. The 72 hours after I escaped, he made my life a nightmare. He hacked my personal emails, emailed me using that account to threaten me, and said he'd ruin my life and that I had only a few hours. He knew where my parents lived, and I received random private calls. Everyone knew he was impulsive, out of control, and codependent on me, so we braced ourselves. When I grabbed my cat and ran out, I was at peace with the thought that I might lose everything. I just wanted freedom. The restraining order was ready to be served. In his final email, he discovered my emails to the attorneys and denied everything while twisting the truth. He never took accountability. He calculated our apartment perfectly messy, with our pictures and items scattered around to make me feel guilty. His social media posts were all left to look a certain way that I understood. He left a note blaming me for everything and sketched a drawing of a game over from my favorite game. This all happened in 3 days, and I'm still trying to process it all. In our 10-year relationship, he dictated and justified his abuse as punishment. When I opened the door without knocking, he'd grab my shirt collar so hard it knocked the air out of me. When he shoved me and I fell backward into the bathtub, it was because I wasn't listening. Every push and verbal insult he directed at me was calculated. This, however, was the last thing I expected. I never thought he'd off himself because I finally stood up for myself and chose freedom. A selfish, cruel punishment. I'm happy I'm free and I can finally process and heal. I think I might also be numb from it all. I just wish he would have stopped and thought for a second before doing something so reckless and selfishly punishing not just me but every family member and friend involved. His ways of loving me continue to confuse me. I'll never understand it. But here's the kicker. I would replay that day and choose to leave 100 times over again if it meant I'd be free and able to find the love and peace I know I deserve, even if the outcome were the same. Final update. It's been almost 2 weeks since my abusive ex committed 3 days after I left. He left the apartment in a manipulative, scattered mess with our things placed and aligned just to hurt me. His final note blamed me for everything, denied the abuse, etc. Feel free to read my post history for the full context. It was his final attempt at punishing me, and I feel angry, disappointed, and maybe still in shock. I'm processing everything. Despite everything, though, I have never once regretted my decision to leave. It has not only provided me with a freedom I never felt, but it's also given me so much clarity about how abusive he truly was. I'm left to clear the apartment with family and friends, rest and journal, contact a therapist for intake in the next 2 weeks, be patient with myself, and absorb all the support and love I've been receiving. I'm free now. I'm free. My struggles now, I feel almost in denial that he would have killed me and then himself. I've read stories before of abusive exes who take their partners with them. I know it happens. My ex was impulsive, angry, and very troubled beyond what I thought. He believed the abuse was punishment and that it was deserved to put me in my place. He even warned me last month that he wouldn't hold back anymore. Yet my brain still can't mentally connect the magnitude of his final cruel actions with how I escaped death. It's weird. It feels foreign, like a different person. I keep thinking he was physically and emotionally abusive for 10 years, but he could never do that. I'm not sure why I can accept everything he's done that's messed me up, all the abuse except that. Maybe it's just hard to stomach that he was always a hair away from doing it the entire time I was under his control. Can the sub please provide me with resources on these stories? Data, maybe anyone with similar life experiences willing to share advice on how to navigate these thoughts. This next post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named One Teaching. The post is titled AITAH for refusing to give my late husband's affair baby money. My husband passed away almost 3 years ago, leaving me a solo mom of an 8-year-old. I've learned a lot about who he really was since then. Let's just say that if he were alive, we wouldn't still be married. About 6 weeks ago, a process server showed up trying to serve him with a court order to submit DNA for a child. I gave him a copy of the death certificate and sent him on his way. Shortly after that, a woman showed up on my doorstep saying that the child she had with her was my late husband's. Is it? I don't know, and I don't care. The child kind of looks like him, but also looks young enough that they would have had to have been conceived very shortly before his death. I told her that he was gone and where she could find his grave. She almost immediately started demanding her half of his estate. I laughed and told her that half of nothing was nothing, and she was welcome to that. Where I've been informed that I might be the TA is that while it's true there was no estate, there were assets that passed outside of probate. One of those assets was a rental property that his parents gave us years ago, deeded with him and me as joint tenants with rights of survivorship. In short, it became mine when he died. I've already sold it, and that will be the money that sends my child to college. Legally, I'm good. While I feel bad for this child, I also have my own child to look out for. I'm going to edit this to answer a few questions that I've received. No, there was no will in place for him. In my state, intestate inheritance laws say that if the only heirs are me and my child, then the first $50K of the estate goes to me and my child gets half of what's left. If this does turn out to be his child, then half of the estate would go to me and half to the children. However, that is a moot point because his estate was literally an empty bank account and $40 in cash. Everything else passed outside of probate. A good estate attorney is worth every penny, even if I never could get him to meet with her to do his damn will. There was no life insurance. Yes, I'm in the US, and my child is receiving survivor's benefits. They aren't huge, but they do pay for therapy bills. He hadn't worked for a vast majority of our marriage, but luckily had enough credits to qualify. At this point, I'm not opposed to helping the other child receive the same benefits since it won't affect mine. However, my attorney has recommended holding off at this time because we don't know what she's planning. She assures me that if the other mother files with Social Security, they will backdate any payments to at least the date filed, so holding off won't affect the total amount if it does turn out to be his child. I have no idea if she knew he was married at the time or not. My husband's parents are alive, but our relationship is strained at best. I haven't told them about any of this and have done my best to let them keep believing that their son was a saint. User Obese Vegetable said, and for what it's worth, that's not a terribly uncommon scam for some reason. If you still have the papers, I'd look into whether they are even legitimate. To this, OP said they were. That's the first thing my attorney looked into. The working theory is that she really didn't know when she filed. Why she waited so long is anyone's guess. UserFunny24 said NTA. It's between your late husband and his baby mama. You received sole possession of all assets upon his death, and you owe nothing to the baby mama. She should have informed him that she was pregnant with his child while he was alive if she knew. Why did she wait 3 years to come forward? User Glinda the Witch said, that money belongs to you to do with as you wish. While your plan might be to use that money to send your child to school in the event of a financial crisis, you might need that money to stay afloat and put a roof over your head. While the child has no fault in any of this, he or she is not your responsibility. His mother took risks, had an affair with a married man, and now she's suffering the consequences. It will be her responsibility to be a single parent and provide for her child. A few months later, OP provided us with an update, so it is his child. Or at least there's enough shared DNA to determine that my in-laws are the grandparents, and there's no way that it's their other sons. The biggest update is that the mother doesn't currently have custody. I am still a bit unsure of the timeline, but there might have already been a CPS case open when she first contacted me. She's apparently a fan of the same illicit substances that my husband was. That would explain how they met. Unfortunately, that means that the child is now in foster care. My in-laws were not deemed an appropriate placement, and I won't do it. I have been working with the caseworker regarding getting Social Security benefits for the child. In my state, survivor benefits offset any child support obligations, so even if there was an estate, the Social Security benefits most likely exceed the amount he would owe based on his work history prior to death. This hasn't affected my own child's benefits. I still haven't determined exactly what I will do with this information going forward. I have set aside some money in an online savings account, but it's still in my name. Until the mother's rights are completely terminated or the child ages out of the system, I don't want anything that would possibly give her access to it. I will also eventually have to tell my child that there is a sibling out there. I've been through the ringer over the last couple of months, and I'm still just so mad that I'm still cleaning up my husband's mess.